Hello, and welcome to the War in the Pacific. We're just the 23rd of February, 1942, in the Wirraway versus Encircled, played by male campaign. Still sweeping mines at Calcutta. Continued whack-a-mole on Sumatra. It's trying to suppress all the Dutch refugees or guerrillas, probably. Guerrilla is probably a better term for what they're doing at this point. Here we're reinforcing our forces on Cebu with a couple more Special Naval Landing Force units. So want to wrap up the operation on Cebu, and then we can free up those units to help with our southern prong of our Philippines, Luzon invasion. Base cleanup in the Solomons and the Bismarck Archipelago. See if he goes after our ships at Wallace Island near Suva. It's like Zero's looking for P40s. Won't find any. It's sweeping Diamond Harbor again. Or Zeros and Oscars on long range cap on over Clark Field. Sonya's hitting Clark Field. Sally's continue to pound the Chinese, hoping to give that armor unit the time it needs to retreat intact. Lily's over Clark. More Sonya's over Clark. Lily's trying to disrupt his remaining units at Palembang. Sally's trying to suppress that airfield at Black Weapon, so he can't jump B-17s in there and hit Palembang once it falls. That's the idea anyway. E7, 2017's hitting Diamond Harbor. Don't have anything there, so okay. Trying to slow the advance of those guards units from those naval guard units from the south. They're not really a significant threat to him. Maybe he's just trying to kill troops moving into. Oh, more Diamond Harbor strikes. Oh, okay. So he really doesn't like those naval guard units. So his remaining fighters, instead of challenging my fighters, are strafing the advancing naval guard units. Just another example of the typical asymmetrical nature of the air war. Fighting Encircled is he rarely fights head to head, meaning sweeps against cap. Uh, he won't generally try to cap against sweeps. I find a layered cap over a base is fine. Sweeps have the advantage, but sweeping aircraft lose a lot more pilots, so kind of a wash. Oh, interesting. Dutch bombers. They aren't able to hit anything. We'll see what the airfield damage is at Balikpapan at the end of the turn. He doesn't have a lot of engineers there, just a few, it appears, so we don't have to constantly suppress it if we can get it closed. Oh, that was close. Exhausting the Dutch at Palembang. I don't know how many engineers he's got there. Uh, Getting a few disablements each turn, so. Yeah, this is his artillery at Clark is normal problem, I'm going to have to push more have big guns into Clark, but he will have the advantage for a while until uh, he's got some 175 millimeter long toms, which I just can't match. So he'll have the advantage for a while until my troops dig in, until he runs out of supply. Reinforcements at Cebu should bring that campaign to a close. Paratroopers doing some dot base cleanup. Okay, well, relatively quiet turn. I'll speed through the end, check on how things are going. Up in the Aleutians, again, some shipping sighted at Kodiak. No change there. We'll be out of the hex next turn. So these tank regiments are now heading all back to wrap up the Kunchang campaign. Let's see how it's going in southern China. We're maneuvering. Looks like he's going to try to jam us up here. Uh, we've got bombers and fighters to maybe not. Hard to tell whether he's trying to move, block, or not. But I don't think he's got enough combat power in reserve, and I don't think he's going to move out of the times three train into times two. So, and even if he does, we can continue the encirclement operation. So this appears to be going along fine. Uh, he strafed this mountain gun regiment, which is just moving to help the third division in times three terrain in case the Chinese get spicy. Like the artillery or mortars are, very useful if the Chinese decide to shock attack. So China looks good. Philippines are closing in on Manila. 8th Tank Regiment is now in the fight in our southern prong of Luzon. We've talked about Cebu already. Let's check in airfield damage. Won't really be updated until recon sees it next. Um, but Sally's with Oscars and support will work on suppressing that airfield. Badger Mason is closed for offensive operations, so we've already dealt with that. Arakan is the only other airfield he could potentially use. You can see there's 11 bombers, 11 fighters there. So we will have to, at least initially, uh, cap or long range cap Palembang once it falls in case he decides to uh, try to go after it. That single special naval landing force company won't have enough to deal with these Dutch guerrillas, so I'll have to pull a few more in. This is, fun little counter guerrilla operation. Just have to make sure it doesn't distract me from what really matters. Uh, operations primarily in India at the moment and the South Pacific. So Asansol fell. Pick up those resources. Next on the hit parade is Jamshedpur. That heavy industry is nice to catch. And looks like we're closing in on Lasho in Burma. So that's good. Paratroopers still hold the rail line, blocking Lido and beyond. Let's jump down to the South Pacific. He knows I'm here. Uh, he spotted the cruisers and the Fast Transport Task Force, and he spotted another Fast Transport Task Force. So a little optimistic that he'll try to take the bait here, and we'll send in the fast battleships to see if we can hunt down or catch some cruisers exposed. That's the plan. Always try to create those mismatches. Uh, Fast battleships against cruisers is pretty one-sided. Armored light cruisers against destroyers, at least early in the war, pretty one-sided. Even the fast heavy cruisers against his older destroyers is generally completely one-sided. All, all good uh, if you can create those mismatches. Anyway, we'll just check in on what happened in the air. Again, ops losses mine are relatively higher. He did lose, it looks like, some P-40Bs in what I consider mostly fruitless efforts. Meanwhile, we lost some sort of typical operations and flak related losses. Have to check my dynas and see if there's an altitude setting sometimes. As I'm moving the aircraft around, I don't set the recon altitudes correctly, and the dynas end up reconning a base that has heavy AA and Luzon. Anyway, all good, and I look forward to our next chance to